All right, so
Yeah.
today, gang, I've got Richard Drake on, and he is a property management company owner out of Houston, Texas, and he has roughly 1,200 plus homes, and he and I have been collaborating on all kinds of cool stuff for the last few years, and I wanted him to come on specifically to talk with us about actual real deal property management company issues. And who else better to come on, because he's got great ideas. We're going to drag Whitaker into the conversation, try to make him look smart, and we're going to have a good conversation today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Rich Drake. Rich, give us a minute or two of your time and tell us who you are.
Hey, man, thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear me pretty well. Been a real estate guy for 20 some odd years, since 97. Got in the property management business 7 years ago. Decided to quit getting only paid when my renters pay. We'll get paid when everybody's pays, I guess. Learned a lot about business, learned a lot about building culture in a company, talking to people like you and Matt. And here we are. We're the biggest, we're a renters warehouse franchise. We're the largest one in the country, and we're just plugging along.
Rich, how big is your team? How many people work for you?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Oh, I don't know, 15 or so, something like that.
Wow.
We're a little overstaffed for how many units we have, but we're growing, so we want to be a little bit ahead of the curve.
So to give the audience a little bit more background on you, and I've been using you as a test case for a long time. You're a prior military officer, so you've got that experience.
Yes,
and
sir.
I've been over to your shop a couple different times because you put something called the big event or the monthly event.
The super investor meeting.
The super investor meeting every month. And gang listeners, this is the most legitimate, unique thing I've seen in property management, because this is a tremendous event that he does every month. He gets between 600 and 800 people to come out to this every month, and he gets his vendors, the advertisers, to pay for everything. And so, Rich,
it's profitable.
You plan on keeping this going, but your venue just closed down, which, by the way, everybody,
man.
It's Houston. It was called the Redneck Country Club, right? The Redneck Country Club.
They had recently changed the name to the Republic Country Club to try to get rid of that stigma,
lighten it
I guess.
a little bit.
Yeah. But man, it was such a great venue. We had an inside area with a stage and a high quality sound system, and then an outside patio covered. And we had, I don't know, 30 some odd vendors out there, and they pay a few bucks to be vendors, and we have a couple of premium vendor spots. And it was profitable. It's been profitable every year.
You were getting 600 to 800 people there. I mean, does everybody understand how many people that is?
Well, here's the trick: free food and free beer doesn't hurt. So when you tell me free beer, I'm going, right? You can fill up a room if you give away cold beer. So
now, are you going virtual with that meeting this month?
We probably are. We did one last month. We did a Zoom on. And we thought about doing it at the last minute. We had over 4,000 views, so it did pretty well. I hadn't looked at it lately. I think it is over 5 now. But
so you plan on doing that at a new venue, though? You're going to continue on this trail?
Yeah, this month we'll do virtual again, I'm sure. And then we'll start with the new venue as soon as we track one down.
How are you feeling about the investors, the reluctant landlords, the homeowners coming out after this? Do you feel you're going to see a spike in business? What are your thoughts on it?
As interesting as the last couple of weeks, our leads count has been down. I was opening that up a while ago when you and I were talking, and let me just I have a daily lead tracker, but we had 12 incoming leads last month. As of yesterday, last week we had 13 as of yesterday, and that's not incoming leads. I'm sorry, that is assigned to a person leads.
Okay, so a little bit of a dip, but that could be expected with everybody kind of hunkering down. So a lot of what we want to chat on today is potentially how your operation has changed in the Houston market with having to do maintenance a different way, to do inspections a different way.
Oh, yeah.
Matt has had to adjust. We've had to adjust here. And so I wanted to get your personal kind of a spin on that. What are some of the things you've had to do differently here the last few weeks?
For maintenance, we went to a policy of, urgent only. We didn't say emergency. We just said urgent matters. I kind of consider, no hot water as an emergency, but AC is urgent. It's not an emergency, but we'd fix AC. So we've not really had much of a hitch other than, we're communicating often with our owners and our tenants, letting them know that kind of a everything's okay message. We got this message. Hey, everything's operating at 100% capacity. We're virtual. We're a paperless office anyway, so we've put that message out to everyone. The big issue we're having right now was when we closed our office 100%, we have some tenants that are used to bringing their payments in, and the ones that want to bring their payments in are not going to check their email. Those are that person, right? So we actually sent a paper letter, an email, and a text to all of them and said, hey. So we could sort by how we don't have that many that don't pay electronically. We're at 81%. So we had all those sent a letter. Everybody that brought their rent in last month, we sent them a letter. And I was up there today, and there's a guy up there staring at the door trying to figure out how he's going to get in. So they don't listen. So that's
it's a challenge. So today is April Fool's Day, and April 1st rent is due. And your gut feeling tells you what about how rent collection is going to go in April?
I think they're going to be better than the doomsday people are saying. There will probably be more people paying towards the middle of the month than the first, because I think there's going to be a lag on the unemployment, right? It's just overwhelming the system. So when it normally would take 3 or 4 weeks, it might take a little longer to get activated. We'll have a lot of tenants that simply don't know what's available to them. So that's one thing we're doing. We're pumping out data to the tenants. Don't miss out on this. If you're part-time, you can get partial unemployment. If you were on tips, you can get it. If you're 1099, you can get it. We're pushing that data to the tenants so they know, hey, I didn't even know that. And the federal kicker on top, that's $600 a week. I ran the math for Texas, and you make 55,000-ish, you break even with unemployment. Anything below that, you're making more than you made before.
When did you start proactively reaching out to the residents to talk to them?
I would say a couple of weeks ago, because what we wanted to do was make them ease their minds, right? We didn't send any kind of message of please call us for a payment plan. We're not going to charge late fees. We sent a message that said, hey, we're here for you. Use these precautions. Here's the CDC regs. Here's what we're changing. We're going to have people wearing gloves coming into your house. They're going to use hand sanitizer before and after. We're going to space. If you have any concern with that, we just won't come in. That kind of stuff. And we just continue to reassure them that we work virtually just as efficiently as we do in the office. You just can't come in to see us. You're going to have to call us.
Have you seen any feel-good stories from the owners or anybody yet? And I'm going to tell you a couple right off the bat to give you a kind of warm-up.
Yeah,
so we
ahead.
had one of our owners called in today and offered to exchange rent for repairs. So if the tenant wanted to do certain repairs to the property, that could be lawn maintenance or, anything like that, they would exchange that in lieu of rent. And that was the owner telling us they wanted to do this. Another one, this is a really interesting one. Talked to Tracy Stripe today. He owns Renter's Place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was telling me that an outside person, outside of the owners that they manage for, called in and wanted to donate the rental amount for the month of April and wanted to give it to a single mom. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, we're going to start seeing some of these feel-good stories. Matthew, have you seen anything in your office yet?
We've had people that have called in, and one owner in Denver, I think, owns 6 or 8 homes and forgave basically the whole month of April. So we've had that. And then I know Mike Kraus and Adam Wanis down in Orlando, Atrium Property Management, they're basically doing a GoFundMe. So their GoFundMe, I think, is at $10,000. They have a goal. They originally set a goal of $10,000. They reached that, and they've upped it to $50,000 with the idea that they're going to essentially pay some people's rent with that money. So their owners contributed to it first. They've gotten a lot of press out of it, and so now they have other people, I think, contributing. So that's a pretty awesome idea.
Rich, what do you think? Anything on your side?
Yeah, we have an idea similar to that. We're doing kind of we're not doing a GoFundMe, but a kind of owners helping owners type deal. So hopefully that'll be a good thing. My buddy Todd had that idea.
One of the challenges I'm seeing is, I had my attorney write up an official policy letter of how we're supposed to handle rent collection this month. Is in the new laws, a lot of those, you can't charge late fees, et cetera, applies to the government subsidized home loans, right? FHA, VA, et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
Our challenge, all three of us, is which owners have which type of loans. And so probably the best policy, and maybe you guys can debate this with me, is to apply the same policy across the board. Like maybe you want to waive late fees altogether, or forbear them or whatever.
I say two things. One, if you don't waive them altogether, it's a PR nightmare.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if you don't waive them altogether, even though you may could argue, Todd Father and I were arguing about this, that it is directly a violation of fair housing. Even if it's not a violation, if you go to court, if you get sued for fair housing, you lose as soon as you got sued. You didn't lose the trial, but you lost a lot of time, headache, money, and it's guilty until proven innocent with those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. The PR side of this whole thing, it's better just to to know you're going to lose it. I mean, part of the stimulus package should reimburse us for those, for those late fees.
Yep.
We already have an idea of what that's going to be over the next 120 days, and it is a big number, a six-figure number. But the point is, you don't win. There's no way you can win that argument. Even if you go in front of a judge, you don't even know how a judge is going to apply. They may say, well, you can't evict people during this time, and they're not even right, but they just applied their own carte blanche. So you don't win. There's no way we're going to win doing it. So we might as well save our time, energy, and effort on just collecting and making sure people don't get behind.
Yeah, I think
sorry, Rich, cut you off. We know, Rich and I know, as folks in Texas here, the justice of the peace is that the lower level courts, they don't follow the laws. The judges do whatever. They don't have to. They do whatever the F they want, and it's maddening. So my attorney and I were talking about this. Even if we got in front of a judge and try to push through an eviction with some sort of other fees attached to it or anything like that, just trying to talk through all scenarios. I know, and I told him this. I said, look, we don't know what the judges are going to say. They're going to probably throw out the eviction anyway altogether for another 10 years because they can. So here's another debate. Okay, I want to switch gears with you guys. We talked about NSF fees. Okay, an NSF fee, because we were afraid of if we apply that to a tenant because they bounce a check to us, are we in some sort of violation? Now, the consensus I came up with, again, this is a small fee. This is not like, we're not, 20% of our inventory or anything like this. But if somebody bounces a check to us, we feel that we could charge the NSF fee, and that is justified. Okay? It's not a money-making scheme. It's just a penalty for fraudulent activity, basically. I mean, the banks are going to charge it, and we get charged for it. So we're kind of like,
charged for it.
We're stuck in a bad position. So that may not be the right answer, but we're just trying to debate it. And again, we'll be empathetic, okay, about this stuff, but we're trying to figure out what is and what isn't part of that ruling.
Right.
I believe that may fall under. Again, you don't want to get in. There are news stations out there right now that are hoping that we do something bad.
Searching for somebody to make into a story.
They want this story so bad. They are just desperate for the evil landlord that is charging fees to people because of the coronavirus. And we just do not need to play into that hand. I mean, again, I get back to the stimulus package. We should, if we get this money that helps support our businesses, that's going to make up for some of that money that we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to essentially focus on just collecting the rent. I think one of the things that's very important is that we make sure people don't fall too far behind. One of the things I've found is people give up when they fall far behind. So keeping them coming, keeping them giving us money is way more important than NSF. But
to clarify that too. Sorry, Rich, cut you off. To clarify that, Matt, we debated it, but I feel the same way you do. I think we're not going to charge you NSF fees simply because we don't want the bad PR. I mean, but the question was asked by my staff, and I researched the answer. I think the answer is you could, but I also think, Matthew, taking your advice, I don't think you should. Rich, Go ahead.
Yeah, so we did a significant amount of training with our staff on how to handle this and what to say and what not to say, when to go to your supervisor, because we want them to feel like, hey, we're here for you. We're trying to help. But the main focus we're going to do is make sure that they understand what's available to them and they go get it. And if they can't pay this week because they don't have their money yet from unemployment, but it's been told they'll have it next week, we're not doing any kind of forbearance or any kind of lease extension. We're just doing a promise to pay like we normally would. Hey, they said they'll pay on Tuesday, and we're going to call them Tuesday and say, hey, where's the money? But our message is, I know this sucks for everybody. I got to pay my rent too. It's a contract. You got to pay your rent. Let's work this out. And we're not doing payment plans, so to speak. maybe 1% will end up in a payment plan, but they have to go to their supervisor to even discuss a payment. Before they call the owner about a payment plan, they have to go to their supervisor.
Let's talk about this. We mentioned this earlier. Let's maybe expand on this. Matthew and Rich, talk about the unemployment benefits. So essentially they could come out ahead.
There is no doubt that they're coming out ahead with some extra cash.
They are in Texas, buddy.
Yeah, in Birmingham, some in Chattanooga, some of our Little Rock, some of our kind of low to moderate income markets, they're absolutely coming out ahead. And that was my message to my team is, look, we need to be empathetic in the short term. And I know empathetic is a bad word all of a sudden, but empathetic in the short term, but they're going to have more money. They're going to have more money in their pocket. So start thinking even ahead of that. Hey, yeah, you can pay April's rent on the 25th, but what about going ahead and paying May's rent also on the 25th and maybe June's rent? Let's make sure that we've got you covered for the foreseeable future, because they're going to get this windfall of cash that they're going to inject into the economy somewhere.
Well, and you can tell your staffs also that, their expenses are way down. Their tenants aren't going out to eat. They're not going to bars. They're not going to Disney World. They're not traveling. So their expenses, when you retire, I think your expenses go down 40%. We're somewhat like we're retired right now. We're not burning gas, and gas is cheap anyway. So that's another thing to tell your staff to make them understand. We're not being the evil, stepmother. We're just trying to explain to folks, hey, realize that everything's going to be okay, because you're going to have that person too that's just freaking out, right? Yeah. The world's coming to an end, doomsday. You got to slow it down. Tell them it's going to be okay. And if this 4 months goes by and they're still locking people up, they're going to extend it. They are. So
that's a great point. I think we need to talk about that. I don't think this is I do think it's a short-term cash flow problem, but I also think this COVID-19 stuff's not going to go away in 4 months. We're still going to be worried about getting it. We're still going to be worried about flattening the curve. And I think at some point, like the maintenance work orders that we're putting off and saying, oh, we'll fix it when, I just don't know when that's going to be. So I think there's going to have to be some thought around how do we get maintenance team members into these houses? And we've done some thinking on this. How do we get them into these houses and keep them safe from getting it? But right now we're just doing kind of essential work orders like y'all are. Yeah. But I mean, at some point, 3 months from now, the toilet's still leaking. We still need to go in there and fix it.
Now, Rich, are you still leasing homes over there? I mean, how's the market right now? I mean, you're doing self-assisted unaccompanied showings, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, for the most part, what we had our agents all do is go do a video walkthrough with commentary. We built a YouTube channel real quick, and so they can direct them to the YouTube video. If it's vacant, we'll allow them our agent will go there, unlock the door, get out of the way, and let them do a walkthrough by themselves. Because you really do want that face-to-face if you can. You're going to rent more houses.
Well, also, to interrupt you there, everybody's got to understand that Houston has a giant leasing fee. Like the market there pays way more to co-broker a real estate transaction in the lease side than almost any place else I've seen. Rich, please explain that.
Yeah, so Houston is dominated by Houston Association of Realtors, that website, and I would probably say half or more tenants are represented by an agent, and if you don't put 50% of 1 month's rent on HAR, they're not going to even show your house. Wow! So it's really frustrating to know that agents are doing what's in their interest versus in the interest of their customer, but it's human nature to want to make money. And salespeople they're going to work their pay plan, right? So you have to give away half a month's rent. So what we do is we actually compete. Our agents compete with trying to beat them to the punch, right? Rent it out before you get a tenant with an agent. So we do a pretty good job. We're at like 41%, I think, 41%, something like that.
So you still have people though that are showing up and essentially meeting, although they're not touching, I'm sure, and letting them in houses.
They're not shaking hands, but we do have them meet them on occasion. Sometimes we don't. This is Eddie. Everybody say hi, buddy.
Hi, Eddie. Eddie's looking good.
Eddie Bear. He's a good boy.
So I wanted to explain that because people are hearing that, oh my God, you're still doing showings. Well, wait a minute. You got to understand the financials behind this, right? Because they're paying such a giant leasing fee. These agents don't want that to go away. They don't want self-assisted unaccompanied showing. They want to be able to go. They want to be able to co-broker and earn commissions. And so it's a unique animal in that regard. And I'm glad we kind of brought that up for the Houston market, because other markets like San Antonio, we can get away with unaccompanied vacant home showings all day long. The co-broker commissions are minuscule.
Because when somebody calls off of Zillow or something else, they go straight to our guys. And so we'll send them over to look. And we have in our agent remarks in MLS, it says, if you don't accompany and we don't know you're there at the beginning, you're not getting paid. Because too many times you get a tenant figure out that their brother-in-law can throw their name on the deal at the last minute.
Oh, so Rich, I've had the same issue. I call it shadow showings. And, we were giving so much away in these shadow showing co-broker commissions, because that's the exact scenario is some tenant shows up and does a self-assisted showing, and then they put down their brother-in-law as the agent, and their brother-in-law is all of a sudden making $1,000 for nothing, like never even showed the property.
If their brother-in-law hasn't reached out beforehand to our agent to set up the showing, they're not getting paid. Now, we're not telling somebody they can't have an agent and be represented. We're just not going to pay them.
Yeah. One of the things I've been shocked at how little our demand for rentals has dipped. We're still showing houses. We're still renting them. I'm on my leasing application Slack channel right now, and we're still approving people coming across. So people are still going to move in. People are still moving. I thought that would probably be one of the first things that clipped off. We have seen less owners calling in that want us to rent their house, but that's just building up demand. I mean, it's going to be pent up demand and going to release at some point.
Yeah, and ours did the same thing, but this week it popped, and so it's back up again. It's interesting. It is significantly more this week.
And maybe everybody's setting into the new normal. Hey, we know this is going to last for an extended period of time. We're not going to be out of this by the 13th or whenever the original date was. This life is our new normal.
Yeah, you might want to look at holdovers too. What we're having now is people saying, "Well, I can't leave. Can I stay a little bit longer?" And if there's no tenant standing by, we're allowing them to stay at the same rent month to month.
Yeah. Also, a great opportunity to just renew them for another year.
Renew them. Yeah. So just make sure your staff understands what to say, right? That's the most important thing I've noticed is things that are common sense to us, your staff needs to be told step by step. It's very important to say, here's what you do if this happens. Here's what you do if that happens. Because they don't have the same business sense that people like us do.
I totally get that. Matthew's been asking me for years exactly how to live step by step. And I've been trying to coach him. I've been trying, especially on the hip.
Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. That's how you walk.
I'm very fortunate to have this relationship with you, Brad.
Oh, man.
You're welcome.
You wouldn't be able to button up your shirt without him.
I wouldn't.
It's a tough crowd, man. Jeez.
We're trying to
I will tell you, I was a better baseball player than he was, though, Rich. So I've always got that.
You a high school or college ball player?
I played in college.
Yeah, I played high school. I was a superstar in high school, but I was too slow and I didn't hit bombs, so I wasn't going anywhere in college.
Well, I was slow, but yeah.
I may be slow, but I'm small.
Yeah, exactly. So this is digressing, but let's get into one more thing before we kind of close this out. And a lot of us have been talking about it. We have another guest lined up for Friday. I'm going to bring Rick Sanborn back on Friday to give us the latest and greatest with what's going on with the SBA, the stimulus package, the PPP, the EIDL, all those things that are like top of mind right now for all business owners. We're going to talk more about that on Friday. Matthew, you're smiling. I don't like that smile. Don't make me reach through this phone.
Well, I agree. There's so much misinformation out there about this. It's the most, once you think you've got it figured out, somebody tells you something different. Like right before we came on, Rich came on with some new information that his banker told him. And now I'm all confused again. I need Rick Sanborn on speed dial.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And if you don't mind, I'll be on Facebook Live on Renters Warehouse Houston tonight at 6. And what I'll be doing is talking to my landlords. The message will be the message that we're giving the landlords. So we're really going to go through this, the PPP and all that. If anybody wants to jump on, you're welcome.
That's awesome.
Be sure to share that back to the mastermind page, because I'm sure a lot of folks would want to share that out to their owners, so that could really go viral. Because what we have to remember and remind our landlords is they qualify for the same thing we do as business owners.
And that was the email that went out today, was the message that you might want, if you're worried, you might want to A, call us and we can explain it, or B, here's the deal, and C, I've got a document here for you that's the Small Business Owner's Guide to the CARES Act. So that was a helpful document. I can send it to you if you want.
Yeah. Tell me, Rich, again, you were talking a pre-show about offering free advice to any landlords, even self-managing landlords that were calling in.
So that's what we're doing. We actually changed our message on our advertising to say, hey, we're here for you. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, call us, no strings attached, and we'll help you and answer. We're not lawyers, but we'll do our best or point you in the right direction, because a lot of owners just don't know anything. So we figure that'll build something over time, right?
That's called karma. That's called good karma right there. I love it. I love that type of a selling situation. It's nothing to give somebody a blank Word document form, or they can do some sort of payment agreement or whatever with their self-managing tenant. And guess what? You just ask them, hey, you may not want to use this, but refer somebody that wants to use us. That's how we always look at it. Go to the next level. I know you're going to self-manage because you're way smarter than everybody else, but your brother-in-law who buys a home and they want to use a professional property manager, have them call us. We are glad to help. What do you think, Whitaker?
I agree. One of the things that's always impressed me about Rich is he is more connected to his owners than I think any other property management company that I know of. That's especially big in size.
And we constantly, we've been sending out Zoom bombs to all of our tenants and owners by team, because we use the team concept, and they're fantastic. I mean, they're like, don't worry, here's what we got going on here. We're going to do this. Just want you to know, just want to check in. They're doing that weekly, just to say, hey, we're still here. We're collecting rent, and here we go. It's April, right?
Rich is the Yoda of owners in the property management world.
Goodness.
I don't think you like that comparison.
The Zen master.
There is no try, right?
The Zen master then.
There's no try. I love it. Well, awesome. Any parting comments from you guys?
Yeah, I've got something. I wanted to kind of share with some information. We proactively too, Rich, started reaching out to residents, and I just have some data starting to come in on who's paying rent. Of the roughly 2,500 residents we have, 4% of our portfolio is actively reached out. So we had a form that they had to fill out, and their employer had to fill it out. So 4% so far has been affected by this COVID, whether it's reduction in hours, furloughed, or got laid off. The interesting thing, this is one of the cool things I thought. 75% of these people had a zero balance or better, did not owe us $1. So point being, these are really good residents. These are the ones you want. They're all paid up for the month of March, and now they're not able to pay the month of April. So that to me was a crazy number. I figured it would be 10%, 25%, but it tells you that some of your best residents are going to be affected by this.
I agree with that. I hope though that they just need to be educated, right? Hey, here's what you need to do to get your money.
And that's what we did. We created a page that we're sending everybody to on our website. And most people are choosing essentially just to pay the whole thing by the 15th. So we're giving, obviously we can't, no late fees. We talked about that earlier, but most people are choosing, hey, I'll have the money by the 15th. So man, I'm with you, Rich. I think it's going to be way less than the doomsdayers are saying. And thus far, that's kind of proved itself out.
Yeah, and I just got my data for this month's. We track, and this is a number that's not real important, but it's kind of interesting, is who's paid by the end of the first, right? No one's due. Most rent's due on the first, late after the third now. Some leases still say the second, right? So we had 369,000 come in versus last month was 577. February was 800, 652, 539, 750, 600, 600. So we had a significant drop off in who paid by the first. That's interesting.
Yeah, you guys have to do a little bit of chasing on that one. So, that's going to be a challenge for everybody. And one last comment is, my attorney recommended that we memorialize any agreement you put into place. So if you can't pay the first, can you pay by the 15th? Tenant says yes. Owner, management company says, okay, yes. Put that in writing. Matthew and I were talking about this just saying, what are you going to do if they don't pay? Well, okay, yeah. But at least, put it in writing. I mean, hey, you agreed to pay here. And we were expecting those funds, and we don't know what we're going to do about it. But hey, we all agreed, and you put it in writing. So that's what my attorney recommended. You use your own best practices for what you think is appropriate for your market, but that's what we were told to do.
Well, it makes sense in the context of our earlier discussion. If you are evicting in 121 days, here's the agreement. They didn't live up to it. We were trying to work with them, and here's all the paperwork.
Here's 4 pages of notes in that folio that I printed out for you to go through, and our comments every time we spoke to.
CYA.
We trained them to also take a look at the person and say, is this person just trying to just doesn't want to pay, or are they really worried? And because you can tell, it doesn't take very long to figure out this person's just going to be a jackwagon, right? Yeah. So we're going to note that too, their tone, their attitude in that folio, so we know the next person picks it up, they can say, oh, this is a guy that's been being a real jerk.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Excellent episode again today, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time here. Matt, you don't have to jump off. As soon as I say stop, you don't have to jump out of there.
I've got a meeting right after this.
Well, he's got his operation coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I've got that operation we were talking about earlier.
He's got to pick up more hair products is what he's got to do.
I do. I mean, Amazon's not delivering them. There was a run on hair products, so you wouldn't know that, Brad.
All right. Good one. All right, gentlemen. I appreciate you coming on, and thanks and take care.
See you guys.